Play the short game the right way so you can win later when it truly counts, so you can reap the rewards later down the road. The Perspective Podcast is fuel for your mind and creative grind. Each week, we break down the art of healthy hustling, overcoming the inner critic, and growing your creative business. What's going on? You're listening to episode 209 of the Perspective Podcast. I'm your host, Scotty.D.Russell of Perspective Collective, and I want to give you the tools of mindset, motivation, and marketing to blaze your own creative path, especially if it's outside of a day job or your life responsibilities. That's what it's about here, that art of healthy hustling. At the end of each episode, I plug a listener of the week. Stick around to figure out how you can get a permanent shout out on a future episode. So for me, I'm in the seed planting business. And no, I don't literally mean I'm out there slinging sacks of seeds on these corners. I'm not about that life. The seeds I'm planting live within the realms of the content I create and the mindset I plant in my students' noggins. And as the episode artwork states for this, I'm continuing this Pokemon starter theme. I've been playing Let's Go Pikachu on my Nintendo Switch, and my son's getting really, really into Pokemon too. And so I can't help it but really breathe this side of my life in this season and the things I loved as a kid that are now coming back into play now and carrying over to my son. It's going to show up in my artwork, because I really want to enjoy this and remember this moment. So continuing this theme, this one's got Bulbasaur in it. Shout out to you Pokemon nerds out there. But the text on this one reads, "You don't reap the rewards the day you plant the seed." And my goal with today's episode is to convince you to join me and my students in the seed planting business. And this one's all about mastering the mindset of making intentional moves, trusting the creative process, and patiently waiting for your seeds to sprout and one day blossom. But before we get started, I want to give a huge shout out to you Patreon supporters who financially back the show, like my family over at Iron Bean Coffee Company. With as little as your weekly cup of coffee, your support directly helps the show continue to grow, allowing me to invest in the podcast team, equipment, as well as hosting. I couldn't do this without you. So thank you. And if you want to learn more about how you can financially back the show and the rewards for pledging, please just visit patreon.com/perspectivepodcast. One last thing, if you found value in today's episode, it would mean the world to me if you took a screenshot or a video of you working to this in the background and tag me over on Instagram stories at Perspective Podcast so we can connect and I can reshare the love back. As always, keep an open mind and act on anything that inspires you today. Let's go. I often talk about how we live in a society that gets so wrapped up in seeking overnight results. These short-sighted, shortcut-seeking souls lose sight of the importance of patience, perseverance, and grit. In my opinion, this is what goes into building something the right way that helps one thrive in the long term. Instead of playing the long game of how to master massive mountains in the bigger picture, these people are so focused on climbing anthills, chasing short-lived clout and empty vanity metrics. So for me, I stake my reputation and my coaching philosophy on taking the path of the slow and steady grind. It's that turtle pace approach I was trying to shill you to consider to take for yourself back in episode 204. It's not glamorous, but I believe it sets the tone for longevity, doing the shit you love that impacts the people you truly care about. And that's what it's about at the end of the day for me. That's my definition of success running a creative business. And along this slow and steady grind, every day you show up, create, and share something with the world, you're planting a seed. Every seed you plant is crucial and could radically change your life one day. You're giving not only your present self a shot, but more importantly, you're giving your future self a shot to catch a big, big break. And this is why I say you're only one scroll, swipe, or click away from getting your next big opportunity. You never know what your current efforts will result in. That one conversation you initiated with someone may create a lifelong relationship. That one blog post may rock someone years later and turn into a customer. That one podcast episode may land you a speaking gig down the road. That one personal project you hired yourself to create may land you a dream gig client. More on this shortly. But what if it never amounts to anything? One of the biggest objection or fears I hear from prospecting students or people responding to my emails are, what if I put in all this energy and effort and it never amounts to anything, aside from wasted time and feeling like a failure? And I hit them back with my own objection. What if the energy and effort you invest right now radically evolves into incredible opportunities you could have never imagined? And while it may be anecdotal evidence, this is how my story has massively played out. And if you've listened to this podcast a while, you're going to hear this from a lot of my guests. This is a recurring theme of them planting seeds and it totally coming back to them, years down the road. And all of these seeds I've planted over the 10 plus years of just going hard in the paint, creating after college, led me to the path I'm living today. And most of the seeds I've planted haven't sprouted, but others have blossomed over time into insane opportunities that changed my life. And it all stemmed from me sharing my work for the first time in college, being terrified to claim that I was an artist, and then sticking it out even though I felt like I could never catch a break. No one was hiring me after college. I couldn't get a job for 3 years with my art degree as well as my graphic design degree, but I just stuck with it and I kept putting myself out there. And all those seeds I planted landed me my first big boy job, I guess, even though it was doing grunt ad work for cars, so it wasn't anything great, but all that led me to where I am today. And don't get me wrong, I'm a realist at times, for sure. I keep shit super realistic with my students. I have them dreaming big, but let's start small and work our way up so we can get these wins, we can get these W's, build momentum. But at the same time, I prefer to live in the realms of dreaming out loud with my head in the clouds. My perspective is to trust that big shit is always lurking on the horizon for me if I stay intentional and committed to the chase. So, call me the glass half full dude, but yes, I realize at times the glass may have chips or cracks in it, and that's just part of this messy, chaotic, non-linear, beautiful, stressful, yet amazing creative process that we're all going through. My goal with my students is to drill this mindset into their heads of planting seeds as often as possible along your slow and steady grind. And I'm going to consider you my student if you're listening to this podcast, because you never know when one of those seeds that you've planted is going to sprout and blossom. In fact, let me demonstrate my point by sharing an incredible recent student success story that is all about planting these seeds, and it's like what sprouted this episode. So I'm going to call this section The Seeds Ben Van Sledwright Planted. Real original. This inspiring story, again, is from my student Ben Van Sledwright, aka Kicking Tree Chops over on the Grams, and he was part of my OG Fall 2019 Side Hustlers coaching program. All right, I built this program outside of a day job, just planting seeds. So on our first discovery call, going back to this, I remember Ben was just seriously lost and fed up with spinning his wheels, gaining little to no traction. The dude had some serious skills, but he was lacking a lot of clarity, direction, and confidence within his abilities, So I noticed he was beating himself up a lot over things, over our calls. But I noticed there's so much potential that he's barely even scratching the surface. So on our one-on-one 1 hour discovery call after he applied, he and I went to work. We locked down his secret sauce to experiment with during the upcoming season of the program. And his secret sauce during this season was composed of his skills for black and white based design, type and illustration, combined with his love and interest for the punk music scene, attending live shows, photography, skulls, personal and vulnerable storytelling, and the desire to get into the merch biz. That was just everything that we just vomited over a call, and then we were able to connect the dots and combine it all and bring it to the table. And so from there, Ben went to town like an absolute savage, just creating killer illustrations and type-based designs that were rooted in music and deep stories and vulnerable experiences. I pushed him to go the extra mile to showcase his incredible work on tangible goods that he wanted to see his work exist on, as well as tagging the bands that he would reference in terms like the music or the quotes or the experiences that he had within his storytelling. And well over a year's gone by since we worked together in that first OG coaching program, fall 2019. But this dude has planted so many seeds. And during this span, he even became a dad during his time. And, he's just kept grinding on the side as he's being a dad to his beautiful little baby girl. And fast forward to about a month ago as I write this and create this, and this is published, Ben shot me the following text one morning when I was in the middle of a coaching program launch for the spring coaching program that I'm in now. And he states, out of nowhere, and this is at 5:19 a.m., he said, got approached by a local apparel company a week or two ago, and we talked designs, commissions. Just signed a contract to sell 5 of my pieces to them. They said they were excited to work with me because I was already mocking my designs on shirts and stuff so they could get a feel of how it would work for them. They also planned to hire me for commissions down the road too. 3 days after I talked to him, I was watching my favorite Twitch streamer. He has over like 40,000 views daily. He was wearing the same brand that I'm selling to. Freaking wild. I'm pretty pumped about this. They want to keep my name and my story I wrote behind each piece with the shirts. Then he ended it with, just wanted to say, without you or your coaching program, I never would be where I'm at today creatively. Work aside, I made a ton of dope friends that push me to be better and I get to do creative stuff with. You got a dope-ass community you've been building, so thank you, thank you, thank you. Again, I was in the middle of the spring coaching program launch, locking in students, and he dropped this one on me when I was like mid in the launch and being on prospect calls. And I've literally shared this story with so many prospect students to give them a prime example of what this Side Hustlers coaching program is about. And, I'm going to give you a way you can join the wait list, in the outro if that interests you for the fall program or whatever program going onward into the future. But the Side Hustlers coaching program is all about taking on a professional mindset, laying the foundation, planting intentional seeds, and building lifelong relationships over 12 weeks, setting the tone for your next 12 years. And Ben is just a prime example of it. And then after him and I going back and forth, and he's like, dude, maybe I haven't been posting much and working and posting a lot of things on Instagram, but I've been grinding so hard in the background, doing a ton of branding and design work. I can't stop getting freelance gigs since the start of 2021. It's wild. And instead of getting so much pressure, feeling like you have to be so successful on Instagram because that's what others do. And he's like, dude, Instagram's been a game to me, and it's just became so stressful trying to keep up with it. But he's been having a lot more fun creating live on Twitch with Rob Almeida, another 2019 OG coaching program student. But he's twitching and streaming his work live with Rob just for fun, not being so stressed out about posting because he's got freelance work coming left and right out of his ears right now. And most importantly, the whole live streaming is pushing him to get his face on camera more, which is like his biggest dread ever. So this is the power of planting seeds, as well as what I push my students to do, to constantly get yourself uncomfortable. Whatever makes you most uncomfortable or whatever you're most afraid of, that's what you should be doing. That's your future self trying to push you in the direction for the next level of growth. So Ben, I'm so proud of you, and I couldn't wait to bake your story into some kind of post to just show this slow and steady grind. You can't reap the rewards of what you plant a seed in the first day or that very same day. Shit takes time. Keep planting those seeds. You never know what it's going to amount and turn into. And Ben, you're living proof of this. So is Rob, and so are all my other students. And I just want to end this with that. You just can't cheat the process. So what I talked about today, this is the power of planting seeds. Again, you're not supposed to be able to reap the rewards of the seeds you plant right away. That's not how this works. And this is why so many cut corners, then quickly admit defeat, waving the white flag, feeling like they didn't have what it takes to make shit happen for themselves. When in reality, they tried to cheat the process and they never gave themselves or their seeds that they've been planting a shot to bloom organically over time. So, I want to encourage you and compel you to get into the seed planting business and trust the process. Play the short game the right way so you can win later when it truly counts, so you can reap the rewards later down the road and massively transform yourself and your business to a level that you could have never dreamed of. That's what it's about. That's the power of being in the seed planting business. And I encourage you to go link up with Ben to hear more about his story. Go check out his work and go connect with him. He's got a lot of value to add to this world, and he's just a great storyteller and just a great human being overall. Super proud of you, Ben. Again, that's over at Kicking Treetops. So maybe I'm sharing your story one day on the podcast here. That would be pretty dope. PC family, I hope you enjoyed this little solo endeavor episode, and maybe you're convinced. I got you off the fence to join the seed planting business with me and stop seeking those shortcuts, short-sighted shortcut. Don't be that kind of person and looking to go viral overnight. There's a long-term game that we're playing here. If you want to win and thrive doing your shit long-term, I'm not saying it's impossible the other route, but I know with this route, it's totally possible. And I've done it myself. I have friends who have found a lot of success playing that short and steady long-term grind, and then my students are thriving doing it too. So if you found Ben's story inspiring, just know I would love to directly work with you in a future Side Hustles coaching program. Simply visit sidehustlerscoaching.com to join the waitlist for first dibs at locking down one of the 12-week, 12-student fall 2021 roster spots. And I got it all locked down. I'm early for the first time. I'm figuring this all out and planning the rest of my year, but the fall session is going to kick off September 13th through December 5th, and I would love to be your coach. Again, learn more about this program and join the waitlist at sidehustlerscoaching.com, and maybe I'll be sharing your story on one of these podcasts down the road. And if the show has helped you along your creative grind, could you do me a solid and do me a favor and leave a rating and the review over on Apple Podcast or iTunes or whatever your podcast listening app is? Not only does it help the show climb the charts in the arts design category and helps get released to more people who could use and need like what we talk about here to fuel their creative grind, but more importantly, it staples you in as a future listener of the week. And today's listener of the week is titled, "This is truly fuel for my mind and creative grind." And this one comes from Eric from the United States. And they say, "I struggle with imposter syndrome and comparison trap as I'm early in my path. This show and its guests let me see that it's okay to be patient and give it time to grow. There's nothing wrong with having a day job. Thank you, Scotty, Eric." So super simple to the point. This is exactly what the show is about, to like give you hope and give you that spark to really take shit to the next level and take your work and yourself more seriously to get what you want outside of your day job or whatever life responsibilities you have going on right now. And as I sign off, I want to give a huge shout out to my podcast editor, Anya Brennan, executive assistant, Paige Garland, video specialist, Colton Bacher, social media coordinator, Hannah Schick, and Nick Jenkins of Bluka for all the dope theme music you hear on this show. And as you finish off your week strong, I want to encourage you to keep showing up, keep putting in the work, and keep creating. You got this.